Hey, this is Kaelin from Dear Lovely Universe, your self-love coach and podcaster. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my amazing friend, Scott Ferguson. Let's level up.
Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and we are episode 284 with my awesome friend from the left coast out in California, Kaelin Vu. She is younger, as biologically speaking. Sometimes when I come across coaches that are younger, being 50 years old, I kind of look at them and say, how could you really help anybody with such little life experience? But my good friend Kaelin is kind of, for lack of a better term, went to hell and back. She has a fantastic support system. She's going to be a new mother, just a fantastic human being that helps younger ladies that might be stuck or really missing out on identity to really help them find themselves and level up. So make sure you break out your notebooks on this because again, she's young, but I have like pages and pages of notes and you can just check the show notes below as well. So without further ado, here's my really, really good friend, the self-love coach, Kaelin Vu. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and I got my sister from another mister over on the left coast of the United States, out in Cali. I've been so stoked to interview her, but I also have been waiting with bated breath because we had some scheduling conflicts. And I'm going to bring on to rock the mic with you my good friend Kaelin Vu, who is a coach, podcaster, and you have to check out her podcast after you listen to this, Dear Lovely Universe. It's fantastic. She's a life enthusiast. She provides self-love coaching for teen girls and young women so that they feel empowered to live their best lives possible. Her journey to helping others began with her own challenges, which we will get into. Now she shares the wisdom she learned along the way of healing herself with others. Her mission with her podcast, which is Dear Lovely Universe, and life coaching services to help as many women as possible feel unequivocally empowered to be their authentic selves by connecting with their own self-love. And Kaelin, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
Hi, Scott. Thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome.
And that was such a nice introduction. I love the enthusiasm.
We're ready to level up, honey. Let's do this. What's your color?
Yes. First one that comes to mind is aquamarine.
I love it.
It's kind of like a lightish blue-ish green. I don't know. I feel like it's just a nice color. It has a nice feeling.
I got it.
Hey, actually, it's on your poster right behind you.
Yeah, I got that. And I have, I'm looking at the Atlantic Ocean right now, which is not as nice as the Pacific, which you have out there, but it has that little aquamarine right now that's kind of rolling on the waves. So that's beautiful. So thank you so much for coming on. And like, again, we had to reschedule and it was totally well worth it. And so like, I kind of want to dig in to where you kind of went through and your journey to possibly, to really survive, but then begin to thrive.
Wow. Yeah. That's kind of a loaded question. Let's see where to start. I'll start at the time of, I'd say, my transformation. That was when I was 17. And before then, I was really living a life of suffering mentally, internally. And it got to a point where it was so bad that I knew if I kept tracking on the life that I was living, I was going to die. And I knew this for a fact. It wasn't like I'm trying to exaggerate. And so I decided I had to make some real big life changes. And that was when I moved into my grandma's house. And I started focusing on myself. The biggest change came with a change of mindset. It was when I had told myself that I don't want to live in pain anymore. And then I had to figure out ways to make that happen. So I started going to the beach more, started reading more, focusing on personal development and focusing on school and work. And because I was occupying my time with these actually productive things now, I wasn't doing any drugs or hanging out with bad friends or wasting my time.
Sure.
I was trying to build something and actually had hope for the future for like the first time in a long time.
Wow.
So
Was that your kind of hang up that you had in that part of your journey? Was it the wrong people and substance abuse?
For a couple years,
Okay.
yes.
No,
And
it's
that
fair.
could have
Okay.
been the end of me. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to say that can ruin you at 17 years old or 15 to 17 years old. That's just crazy. And here we
Yeah.
are. May I ask your age?
Yeah, I'm 21 now.
Wow. Okay. You are wise beyond your years, kid. Oh my gosh. Fantastic. Fantastic. So you went through this and you started doing the things that at 20 or at 17, 18 years old that I didn't even pick up until I was into my 40s was getting in the salt water and getting my body cleansed out and whatnot. I mean, I always kept in shape, but I never thrived. Like, what did you have a support system that was there, or was it moving into, you say, your grandma's house?
You know, in the past, I had mental breakdowns to a point where like I wanted to commit suicide.
Sorry.
And and I think when you're in that low of a situation and you have to pick yourself up by yourself, you realize that you can do anything on your own.
Yes.
And so
So good.
when I was in that situation, I didn't have a support system, but that didn't really matter because I knew internally that I could do it on my own and that I had the strength to.
Wow. Well, where did the strength come from? Was it from God? Because you and
Oh,
I are both
yes.
believers, and my squad knows I'm a Christian guy. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
you can speak freely about whatever creator, higher power. Please do.
You know, one important aspect that I actually forgot to mention was when I did move to my grandma's house, it was so painful. And I think for a long time, I had blamed God for the things that I had gone through.
Mm-hmm.
And when I moved to my grandma's house, I was at such a point, I was having so much pain that I actually was just like on my knees and I surrendered to God. And I
Yes.
was like, and so instead of blaming God, like, why did all these bad things happen to me in my life and
Right.
stuff like that? Like, now I'm just saying, like, I'm sorry for blaming you. Like, please help me. I'll do
Yeah.
whatever it takes.
Right.
And I think it was surrendering to God and
Right.
taking the steps and the actions to get to where I wanted to be
Mm.
was how I actually improved.
That's fantastic to hear, Kaelin, because I kind of went through the same thing, went through some crazy stuff. My brother killed himself, my little brother. So thank you for donating, by the way, the Suicide Lifeline. I noticed that you did that. And so you went through this dark period. And like, even with my coaching clients, I'm sure you do the same, but like every day starts in the dark, right? And to get to them, I mean, at 12 a.m., it's freaking dark out. It's not light and it's like not shining, but you fell to your knees during that dark time, say midnight, 1 a.m, metaphorically, to surrender to God. And he puts you possibly in a position to start responding instead of reacting to life. Does that maybe kind of a correct analysis here?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
I feel that God puts us in the positions and the circumstances that we need
Hmm.
exactly for our growth. And so whether that is as soon as I learned this lesson like really wholeheartedly, actually started to thank God for putting me through all these situations that were
Yes.
pretty horrible.
Right.
Um, and if you look, I mean, depends what lens you're looking at it,
Sure.
but it made me into who I am today, and it made me able to have empathy with other people and actually
Mm,
be able to help other people.
that's
And
beautiful.
so, in a way, all this pain and all these circumstances that I've lived through helped give me purpose.
Right. It resonates so much with what you have on your Instagram, because I was going to ask you this, but you're telling me this part of the story and telling us why this part of your story, where you wrote, you sincerely believe that real pain is dying before ever living first. And
Yeah.
that hits home with me now that hearing your story, because parts
Yeah.
of that Kaelin died so you're able to live and thrive. And now it makes so much
Yeah.
sense. I literally wrote that down here. Like, what does she mean by that? And That's amazing. So then I'm hearing a lot of you started to take responsibility. So can I ask you what your definition of responsibility would be?
I would say responsibility is taking accountability for your action
Mm.
and seeing where you want to be and making actual steps to get there.
I love that. I love you. You said it better than I ever could. I always say the responsibility is the ability to respond, right? It's built in the word, and it's fantastic. You're taking accountability, which kind of gives you the baby steps, or we say inch by inch, it's a cinch by the yard. It's hard here, so it gives you that inch by inch mentality to create a better life for yourself, and doing that through helping others. So with your coaching program that you have, do you work one-on-one or are you more of a group coach? Or a little bit of both?
I Well, I've done both, but I
Okay,
I really enjoy one-on-ones
beautiful.
because I feel like that's when I get to see the most growth.
Absolutely. So let me ask you something. So within your one-on-one, you're maybe in the discovery period. They're not sure if they want to hire you. You're not sure if you want them. But is there any secret sauce that you utilize, if you don't mind sharing, that maybe help them find their blind spot to where to start from?
That's a good question. I have a really good sense of listening. So oftentimes when I don't talk, people actually share
Yes.
what's
Yes.
on their mind and they go deeper and
Right.
deeper.
Right. And it's like, you know, my mom always said God gave me two ears and one mouth for a reason, to listen more, but also like active listening, which I can absolutely see you doing with clients. Like you actually listen with all your senses. And I call it listening with your neck, where you're like really in and trying to really
Yeah.
pick up from. I love that. I love that. So when you're starting to work with them, or maybe still in the discovery period, is there, Kaelin, is there any good question that you wish they would ask you but never do?
Hmm. Maybe uh what potential do you see in me?
Yes, I love this. You're born to do that. This work, man. It's fantastic. Exactly. How long do you see it taking, and what do you see in me to even think that I can get there? That's what I would ask any coach. Period. You nailed it. That's fantastic. In squad, Kaelin is just dropping knowledge nuggets just left and right here. It's just fantastic. So, Kaelin, have you seen the movie Back to the Future?
I'm not sure. I think I've probably seen parts of it.
Okay, gotcha. So there's this guy, Marty McFly. He gets in a DeLorean and he goes back in time. Okay. So let's go back to the 17-year-old Kaelin. I know it's only 5 years ago, but still 17-year-old Kaelin, or 4 years ago. Is there any knowledge nuggets that you would drop on her to maybe help her level up, last through, and shorten that learning curve even more than what you did?
I would say have complete faith in God
Yes.
because I believe that well, as a female, feel like especially, but 100% for males too, we're
Mm,
very intuitive and we can pick up on our feelings really well. And when you feel like you're doing the right thing, when something feels good to you, I feel like you should keep doing more of that. And
mm,
I feel like when you're doing the right thing combined with having faith with God, you're going to get to a good place. So, Guru says that you shouldn't worry about your future because you can't do anything about your future.
mm.
But if you take the right steps, I mean, this isn't verbatim, but if you
Right.
take the right steps in the present moment, your future will unfold. And so I think I would tell 17-year-old Kaylin to not worry so much about what my life is going to look like and how it's going to unfold. And oh my gosh, like, because when I was 17 and I had gone through that transformation and really started to help myself, that was when I realized I could actually start helping other people as well.
Love it.
And that was when I started my podcast. Well, first it was a blog, and then it was
Okay.
my podcast, and then it was coaching school, and then coaching.
Right. Okay.
And so I think that if could talk to 17-year-old Kaelin, I would tell her, like, don't be scared. Like, go, just
Right.
do it, and you'll see how exciting the journey will be.
Love it. I love it. So, what do you feel that your strengths are, Kaelin?
My strengths?
Mhm.
Well, I would say for one, it's definitely listening.
Okay.
And two, I'm very empathic, so I can pick up on other people's feelings and emotions. And I feel like that helps me become a better coach because I can meet them where they are and ask them the best questions to help them level up. And then I'd say I'm very inspiring,
You
pretty
are. Right.
positive,
Absolutely.
and I'm the kind of coach where I don't necessarily like kick people in the butt, but I'm
Right.
more of a like stern,
Mhm.
but in the like loving way.
Right.
And I
Right.
think that that helps people that uh that need that kind of support
Right.
because some people don't have that at all.
Right.
And every coach is different, but I feel like my style is very loving.
Love it. I can totally see that. I can totally see that. So, how does Kaylin want her dash remembered? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date, your life date and your death date, that little dash. How do you want that little dash of life remembered for you?
I believe that the most important things in life is who you loved and how deeply you loved, and that the richness of our life depends on how much we loved, how much love was in
Wow.
it. So to me, I want to be remembered as someone who loved deeply. As simple
Yes.
as that.
Love that. I love that. And you went through the early part of your life bumped and battered and bruised, but you still metaphorically slid across home plate and scored, which is fantastic. So then what keeps Kaylin up at night?
Hmm. I would say right now it's the baby kicks in my stomach.
Okay, you brought it up. So squad, this is the reason why we rescheduled is because back, I think it was December-ish maybe. We had it on the books and ready to rock, but she was not feeling too good. So she's got a baby due here in a couple of months. So anyway, so that's keeping you up at night a little bit, maybe anxiety of being a mother, even though you're a very confident person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There's definitely some anxiety. It's a big life change, you know.
Yeah,
It's my first kid, and so
yeah, of course.
I'm really excited, but there's also going to be lots of unknowns.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say mostly the baby kicks, but I mean, if we're talking about like mentally,
Mhm.
I think the thing that probably keeps me up at night, as much as like, like if we're going to talk about things that we wish we could work on, I think it's
Mm,
probably staying more in communication with my family because
okay.
and my loved ones. Because if I really, think about it, I was just reading this article yesterday about this guy who his son died and he's like a CEO and he was really busy like throughout his son's life and he wishes
Mm,
that he was more there for his son and
yeah.
he was just in his article he was talking about like how I forgot the exact terms that he was using, but it's something like it's later than you think
Right.
that we should do things now. And so sometimes I wish that I was more in connection with my little sisters or my
Mhm,
niece
mhm.
or my dying grandpa or my grandma and these people are really important to me.
Mm. And it goes right back to who you loved and how deeply you loved. I mean, I love it that you're staying, lack of a better term, consistent, and staying really on point with what your virtues are and whatnot. So that's fantastic. So what do you think people misunderstand the most about Caitlin?
What do people misunderstand? Hmm. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind for me, at least,
Mhm.
is that people can change. Because if someone were to know me from when I was like 16,
Mm,
they would not know the real me. They would
right.
know. well, maybe that was the real me back then, but
Sure.
people can definitely change. I think that's what people need to, or not need to, but should understand. They should be open-minded.
Sure.
I think that when people go into different phases of their lives, especially like having kids, like that definitely changes someone. So,
I love it. I love it. So let's take out of this equation or this question anything electronic that includes cell phones, computers, any tablets. Other than that, what are three things Kaelin can't live without?
my dog,
Okay. What kind of dog?
she's a Chihuahua Pomeranian
Oh, a little
mix.
one. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Uh, I mean, my family, is that a good
Absolutely.
category?
Yeah.
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 Okay. Okay. Yeah. Definitely my family. And I would say also like my extended family,
Sure.
like my boyfriend's family.
Love
And
it.
then and then my boyfriend.
Of course.
They're my home. They're my
Okay.
everything.
Gotcha. Yeah. Like I always say, like, my my fiance, my pets, and then chicken wings because I love chicken. I'm a snob, so it's like a third thing I can't live without. I love my chicken wings. So, Kaelin, what's your definition of a life well lived?
A life well lived to me is when someone truly, okay, I truly believe that every single person has a God-given talent or gift. And I believe that a life well lived is someone who expresses that gift to the world and helps to make the world a better place.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, and to me, I'm taking notes. I'm sorry. To me, if you're not utilizing your gifts, you're sinning. And I don't mean it in a religious connotation. Okay. I believe that the word sin comes from the Greek root word of sinning, and which means missing the mark. Right. So it's funny when my clients, I call them out and be like, you're sinning. The ones that have worked with me for a while, they get it because they know they're missing the mark in life. They know they have a gift and they're not expressing it in the way to help others level up and including themselves level up. So I love how you answer that because that's exactly basically my definition as well. Time to Shine Today podcast varsity squad. We are back and I'm with my rock star coach and podcaster, Kaelin Vu. And Kaelin, you and I will probably do this one day, but you and I could probably talk an hour on each one of these questions, but you have 5 seconds with no explanations and they can all be answered that way. Okay.
Okay.
Let's do this. Let's level up. Kaelin, what is the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Take accountability.
Yes. Share one of your personal habits contributes to your success.
Oh, 5 seconds. Giving myself grace.
Yes. And prayer. That's what I would say too. So, other than the good book, if you see me, I'm walking around like Ferky looks like he's in his doldrums a little bit. What book would you hand me to level me up?
Mm, Probably Miracles by Stuart Wilde.
Wow, beautiful, beautiful book. Awesome. What's your most commonly used emoji when you text?
The smiley happy face with like the blushing cheeks.
Love it. Love it. Nicknames growing up?
KK,
KK.
K.
I
My
love
mom
it.
called me kitten.
Chess or checkers?
I'm horrible at chess. I got to be honest. So checkers.
I'm right there with you. I love it. What's your go-to ice cream flavor?
Caramel.
All
Caramel
right.
on the cone.
Love it. So there's a sandwich named after you. It's called the Kaelin Vu. What's on that sandwich?
Um, I would say it's probably an Impossible Burger.
Love it. Love it. So if you have a time machine and time travel was real, would you take it back to the past or take it to the future?
Oh, I don't think I would get in it, to be honest.
Thank
Because
you.
I want to
That is
enjoy
the
every
best
single moment.
answer. I love you. Man, we are definitely on the same page. So what's your favorite charity and or organization like to give your time or money to?
So right now I'm donating to Children's International.
But,
They have children all over the world,
mhm.
and I donate about, I think it's $36 a month to each child,
You're beautiful.
and it helps them with, I think, food, clothing, education,
Wow.
and access to like electricity if their house doesn't have it. And um, I might be a little wrong on some of these, but
No, you're fine.
like for the most part, it's I know that they definitely help with education and
Love it.
clothing.
Beautiful. And we'll put that in the show notes, Johnny, please. Thanks. Okay, so last question. But what is the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, or 2000s, early 2000s?
I like the 90s.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. Awesome. Awesome. Fantastic. I, I'm an 80s, kind of grew up in the 80s, so it's my jam, but I love the 90s too. So Kaelin, how can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Dear Lovely Universe on Instagram,
Okay.
or dearloveuniverse.com for my podcast website, or
Okay.
kaelinvu.com for my coaching.
Love it and love it. And all of those squad will be in the show notes. And Kaelin, do me one last solid, please, and leave their squad with one last knowledge nugget they can take with them, internalize, and take action.
Okay, internalize and take action. I would say the most powerful thing that you could do every single day is to listen to your heart. Your
Yes.
heart will guide you, and your inner guide. As a coach, my job isn't necessarily to tell you what to do. I feel like that's more of a consultant. My job as a coach
There
is to
you go.
help you figure out the solutions to your own problems by
Love it.
asking you really good questions.
Right.
But if you sit in that silence and connect with your heart every single day, you will guide yourself to exactly where you need to go and then
Right.
take action from there.
I love it because that's what coaching's all about. People think consulting and coaching are the same. And I coach people that have super high net worths or celebrities, and it's like I couldn't consult them on that, but I can, through powerful questioning like you do, have them come up with their own kind of solution where they think they came up on it on their own. You know what I'm saying? So that's a perfect analogy of a coach. In Squad, we have literally got a free masterclass with my good friend Kaelin Vu here, who, until, at 17, she lived a life of suffering. She found God and she realized that she didn't want to live in pain. And she started to focus on herself and started taking responsibility and accountability by taking care of her body, taking care of her mind, and really looking to serve others. And she's became such a servant leader. She gives complete faith into God and, take the correct steps in the moment, because so many people like to have a foot in the future, a foot in the past, and pee all over the present. But if you do things in the correct steps in the moment, then your future will unfold. That's what my good friend Kaelin said here. She's a coach that really listens intently. She's empathic, so she can pick up on your emotions as well, which is just a fantastic, we'll call it a talent to have. And she will be remembered as someone who loved deeply and wants you to remember that as well, as how deeply you can love somebody can really level up your life. Life well lived to her is somebody who truly has somebody that has a gift, and you're expressing that gift to the world. And that's what she wants you to do. And lastly, she tells us to listen to your heart. It's rarely wrong. And you can call it intuition, you can call it whatever you want, but it's something that Kaelin does in spades, and she helps other people do the same. And Kaelin, you level up your health, you level up your wealth, you are humble as all hell, but also hungry for better in life. You're going to be a fantastic mother. I can't wait to see the little guy come out. And thank you so much for coming on. I love your guts, and we can't wait to collaborate with you in the future.
Thank you so much, Scott. It's been such a pleasure.
Yay, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast, proudly brought to you by Sutter and Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you are a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.